Sensible Soccer 2006 would be a sequel to the ever popular Sensible Soccer series that would have seen home on earlier 8-bit and 16-bit consoles along with personal computers such as the Atari, Amiga, Nintendo Game Boy, Sega Master System, and even with the likes of the Mega Drive and beyond. The Sensible Soccer series would go into somewhat of a hiatus for a number of years, but then would be reprised for the 2006 entry that would be released on the PS2, PC and other consoles, but would take a very different approach compared to those ideas seen in the original games, as it would be the first Sensible Soccer game to fully incorporate 3D graphics and elements not seen in the original titles of bygone eras, as the game itself tried to keep with the cartoony aesthetic seen in that of the original games, but would produce some of the most quirkiest graphics ever seen for a soccer title at that time, and is also considered by many to be one of the strangest football games ever made in all regards, as it tried to incorporate elements of the old games but also add in new elements to make it more reflective and appealing to a whole different audience of gamers. Now, it was still never going to be the likes of a FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer beater by any means, but what it did do quite well. It had very addictive and fast gameplay with great use of multiplayer elements where you could play multiple different game modes with your mates, and it just presented a very unique and arcade style mix of football that moved away from the more simulation focused elements seen in the likes of FIFA and the Pro Evolution Soccer series. It is a fun and quirky game in its own right that does offer up something very, very different from your more mainstream soccer games, but it would pale in comparison if you were looking for something a bit more serious and a bit more authentic, as while it did play quite well and you had full movement of the characters' attributes and abilities, the game would lack in some areas, with the controls feeling somewhat quite sluggish at times, and it can be quite difficult to play the game even though the nature of the game is very fast paced. There's a lot of movement and a lot of stuff going on, but when you have control of the ball, the controls just seem very, very sluggish and off-putting for most people. Plus the computer AI is also extremely aggressive, so even on an easier difficulty it is very, very hard to win a game here, as 9 times out of 10 no sooner have you gotten the ball, someone will just sprint out of nowhere and just take it off you, and then you have to spend the entirety of the game trying to win the ball back, and you will just have to rely on pure luck a lot of the times to even have a chance to string a couple of passes together. It is a difficult game overall, but it was considered among many football fans to be quite popular back in the day. I think again because of its quirky nature, as it was very, very different to other soccer games that had been seen, and there truly was nothing like it back in the day. But even with its heritage of the Sensible Soccer series, even the older games in the franchise were also quite quirky in their nature as well, and looked very different from different types of soccer games anyway, so it just appealed to that aesthetic and characteristic. It is an interesting title in its own right that offers some very fun and definitely unique and different elements that will appeal to a different variety of gamers. But if you're looking for more mainstream and more authentic soccer experiences, you probably would be better to stick with FIFA and the Pro Evolution Soccer series. And I would love to know your thoughts on Sensible Soccer 2006 for the PlayStation if you have played it yourself, and if so, what you think of the game overall. Be sure to share it down in the comments below, and if you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be updated of future videos. And if you would like to see more content around other types of soccer games also seen on the PlayStation 2, then you can check out the playlist here on screen to see more of those games in action, and I will see you all in the next one.